Have you ever shaken someone's hand and felt an unspoken tension behind their smile? What if every friendly gesture, every casual word, was actually hiding a deeper motive? In a world full of masks and hidden intentions, how do we truly know who to trust? In the complex dance of daily life, smiles often hide storms, and simple greetings can carry the weight of hidden agendas. Beneath polished words and rehearsed gestures, the true nature of a person is rarely revealed. Today, we step into that unseen world, the one where trust is tested, and deception silently lurks beneath everyday interactions. Through the lens of Stoic wisdom, we'll explore how to navigate these invisible forces. The Stoics understood something vital. While we cannot dictate the behavior of others, we hold full power over our own perceptions, choices, and responses. That self-mastery becomes the anchor in a sea of unpredictable human behavior. Together, we'll examine the quiet cues, the subtle shifts in tone and body language, and the deeper emotional currents that shape our social connections. These insights aren't just philosophical, they're practical tools for modern living, offering clarity in moments of uncertainty and peace amidst manipulation. By the end of this journey, you'll walk away not only more aware, but also more resilient, not just cautious, but wisely discerning. Now, let's continue, because what comes next may just reshape the way you look at every conversation, every smile, and every silence, forever. Earlier, we uncovered how trust can be distorted beneath surface-level gestures. Now let's take a closer look at one of the most dangerous illusions of all, the person who pretends to care. Let's begin with type number 1, the manipulative friend. At first, they seem like the ideal companion. They always nod at the right time, offer comforting smiles, and listen like they truly understand you. You may even feel they get you more than anyone else ever has, but over time, the picture begins to change. You start to notice that their attentiveness isn't rooted in compassion, it's strategy. They don't just hear your words, they store them, your dreams, your doubts, your secrets. They become ammunition. Behind every reassuring gesture is a calculation, like a chess master planning several moves ahead. And make no mistake, you are not the player, you're the piece. When you open up about your fears, they're not simply offering comfort, they're collecting data. And this data, it isn't used to lift you up, it's used to subtly guide your decisions toward outcomes that serve their desires, not yours. Their warmth is a mask, their empathy a rehearsed performance. They don't see friendships as something to be nurtured, they see them as tools to gain control. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes essential. Marcus Aurelius reminded us of how easily our minds can be influenced and how important it is to question appearances. He would urge us to look beyond words and into actions. How do they speak of others when they're not around? How do they treat your trust? Do they honor your boundaries or constantly push past them? These details, often subtle, are where true character is revealed. So how should we respond to this kind of friend? It starts with boundaries. Be mindful of what you share. Not every thought needs to be voiced, especially to someone whose intentions you're beginning to doubt. Gradually pull away. Invest that energy into relationships that genuinely support your growth, those that feel light, honest, and free. of manipulation. True friends don't keep score. They don't gather your secrets like weapons. They make you feel safer, not smaller. And speaking of friends who drain your energy, there's another type you need to watch out for. Let's explore that next. Previously, we looked at how manipulative friends can disguise control as care. But there's another type of person who, without ever raising their voice, can quietly dismantle your self-esteem, one comment at a time. Let's talk about type number 2, the constant critic. This person seems to have made it their life's mission to find flaws in everything and everyone. Whether it's a project you've worked hard on, an idea you're passionate about, or even just the way you express yourself, they always find something wrong. Nothing is ever quite enough. Their words don't come across as helpful. Instead of feedback, you receive judgment. Instead of encouragement, you're met with a steady stream of disapproval that wears down your confidence day by day. The most frustrating part? They often hide behind the excuse of just being honest or only trying to help. But real support uplifts. It doesn't exhaust. There's a world of difference between meaningful critique and constant nitpicking that stifles your growth. When you're around someone like this, you start to feel the need to tiptoe through conversations, to second-guess your every move. The freedom to express yourself fades. Your voice gets quieter, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're afraid of how it will be torn apart. Here, Stoic wisdom offers clarity. Marcus Aurelius once advised, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." In other words, we can choose not to absorb the harsh words of others as personal truth. Stoicism teaches us to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, is there any truth in this criticism? If so, take it in. Learn from it. But if not, let it roll off like rain on stone. Don't carry what was never yours to begin with. Understanding this allows you to respond with inner strength. You don't need to react with anger or defensiveness. Instead, hold your ground with calm awareness. Recognize that their harshness often comes from their own frustrations or unresolved insecurities, not from your actual worth. Protect your mind by setting healthy boundaries. Choose what you internalize. Choose what you discard. Because in Stoicism, we learn to master the only thing truly within our control, our own thoughts and responses. And as we build that mental resilience, there's another kind of presence. We must examine someone who doesn't just criticize, but competes. Let's take a look at them next. After dealing with the draining force of constant criticism, we now shift to something a little more subtle, but just as deceptive, people whose friendliness masks emotional emptiness. Let's talk about type E. Note 3, the superficially friendly. At first, they seem like a breath of fresh air. They greet you with wide, enthusiastic smiles, ask how your day is going, and seem genuinely interested in your life. On the surface, they radiate warmth and charm, but that warmth, it's fleeting, like a puddle reflecting the sun, shallow, temporary, and gone before you've had a chance to understand it. These are the social butterflies, gracefully floating from one circle to another, always cheerful, always engaged, yet never lingering long enough to truly connect. You see them at every event, every get-together, but when life gets hard, when you actually need someone, they're nowhere to be found. Their presence is only as deep as the moment allows. The superficially friendly offer interactions that feel pleasant but hollow. Conversations never go beyond surface-level small talk. Laughter is shared, but vulnerability is avoided. And when the storm comes, they vanish like smoke in the wind. But as Stoic wisdom reminds us, friendship isn't just about celebrating the sunny days. It's about standing together in the storm. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught us to choose quality over quantity in our relationships. He encouraged cultivating a small, trusted circle, friends built on mutual respect, truth, and shared principles. True companions are the ones who remain, not just in your victories, but in your setbacks. They are present when things fall apart. They offer quiet strength when words fail. Their loyalty isn't seasonal, it's enduring. So how do we deal with those who are merely friendly on the surface? Enjoy their presence for what it is, light and casual. But don't mistake it for true connection. Be mindful of where you invest your energy. Save the deepest parts of your story, the fears, the dreams, the doubts, for those who've stood with you through both laughter and loss. Cultivating discernment in your social life is not about judgment, it's about self-protection. Because your emotional energy is valuable and it deserves to be honored. And now, as we deepen this understanding, it's time to meet another kind of presence, one that thrives not through connection, but through control. Let's explore that next. While it's essential to guard your trust from superficial connections, it's equally vital to protect your energy from something more subtle, but equally corrosive, those who are there, but not really there. This brings us to type number 4, the inattentive listener. You've likely met them. They nod along, mumble an occasional maybe even flash a polite smile. But something feels off. Their eyes glaze over, their energy drifts. And though they're physically present, mentally, they're miles away. Talking to them feels like talking to a wall. One that politely pretends to listen but absorbs nothing. And the result? Deep frustration. These exchanges strip communication of its most essential ingredient, genuine connection. Whether you're sharing something personal or working through a professional task, relationships thrive on active engagement. When someone repeatedly fails to listen, the message is clear. Your words don't matter to them. Over time, this passive behavior doesn't just hinder communication. It erodes trust. You stop opening up. You hold back ideas. Conversations grow shorter, colder, and more mechanical. The Stoics offer a sharp insight here. Marcus Aurelius believed that present-mindedness wasn't just a moral ideal, it was a discipline. For the Stoics, to truly listen is to respect the humanity of the speaker. Every interaction, no matter how simple, deserves your full attention. In being present, you demonstrate both integrity and care. But what if you're the one being constantly met with blank stares and half-hearted nods? Here's where Stoic strategies come into play. Start by checking in with your own delivery. Are you being clear, intentional, and engaging? Then, try drawing the other person back into the moment with a direct question. It can be enough to snap their focus into place. If that doesn't help, it might be time for a gentle nudge. Kindly acknowledge their distraction and invite them to rejoin the conversation. However, if the pattern repeats, if your presence is consistently met with disengagement, it may be time to reflect. Is this relationship nourishing you or draining you? Are they showing the respect and attention that you rightfully deserve? If not, you owe it to yourself to redirect your time and emotional investment toward those who truly value your voice. Because as we'll soon discover, there's yet another kind of person, one who doesn't just ignore your words, but actively seeks to outshine them. After exploring how inattentive listeners can quietly erode connection, we now turn to someone who challenges us in an even deeper way, not through silence, but through emotional blindness. Let's look at type number 5, the empathy-lacking individual. These people can be especially exhausting, not because they are loud or cruel, but because they seem entirely unaware of the emotional world around them. It's as if they're wearing blinders, moving through life focused solely on their own needs, desires, and ambitions, completely unaware of the ripple effects they create in others. In conversation, they dominate the stage. They talk endlessly about their achievements, their setbacks, their opinions, leaving little room for anyone else to speak, let alone be heard. When you try to share your own thoughts or emotions, you might notice a pattern. They interrupt, deflect, or simply brush your words aside. Over time, this isn't just frustrating, it's painful, because you begin to feel invisible, like your feelings are irrelevant, like your presence is only valuable as an audience, not as a participant. But what makes this behavior so harmful is that it goes far beyond simple social clumsiness or a lack of emotional intelligence. It's a fundamental disconnection from the humanity of others, and the damage they leave behind: fractured relationships, unresolved conflict, and confusion about why their lives are filled with emotional tension. Here, Stoicism offers a powerful lens. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, urged us to see life as a shared human experience. We're not isolated islands, we're part of a larger whole. And empathy is what binds us together. Listening, caring, and responding with kindness are not just acts of decency, they're pillars of virtue. So, how do we deal with someone who seems incapable of empathy? First, don't respond with resentment. Stoicism reminds us that we are not responsible for others' choices, but we are responsible for our own. If we meet coldness with compassion, indifference with calm, we live in alignment with our own principles. We don't act kindly because others deserve it. We act kindly because that's who we choose to be. At the same time, Stoicism is not about tolerating harm. We must protect our emotional well-being. That means setting boundaries, limiting how much we share, how close we allow someone to get, and how much of our energy we invest. It's a delicate balance, compassion without self-sacrifice. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." So even in the face of emotional coldness, let your response reflect who you are, not who they are. And now, as we continue this exploration, we arrive at yet another type of person, someone whose presence constantly demands the spotlight, turning every moment into a quiet contest. Let's take a closer look. Just as those who lack empathy can leave us feeling unseen, there's another type of individual who takes things a step further, someone who deliberately seeks to disrupt our peace. Let's talk about type number 6, the constant irritator. This person has a particular talent for emotional provocation. It's not always loud or obvious, but it's persistent. They know exactly what buttons to push. Whether it's a sarcastic remark, a backhanded compliment, or a carefully timed comment, they aim to get under your skin. To them, every reaction you give, every sigh, every glare, is proof of their influence. It's like an emotional chess match. And their moves are subtle, but calculated. The goal? To knock you off balance, to assert control. Sometimes it's for amusement, other times it's for power. Either way, their presence becomes mentally exhausting. You feel like you're constantly on guard, watching for the next jab, waiting for the next dig. But this is where Stoic wisdom shines the brightest. Marcus Aurelius taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And in the presence of someone who thrives on chaos, that reminder becomes your anchor. Stoicism teaches us that it's not the actions of others that disturb us, but our judgment of those actions. When you shift your perception, when you decide that their words and tricks will not control your emotional state, you begin to reclaim your power. This is what it means to practice Stoic detachment. You start seeing the provocations for what they truly are. Desperate attempts to destabilize you, and once you recognize their intent, you can refuse to play along. Imagine their little digs losing their edge, becoming background noise, faint, irrelevant, forgettable. This doesn't mean pretending you're not annoyed. It means mastering your reaction. You can acknowledge what they're trying to do without giving them the reward of your emotional energy. True strength lies not in never feeling irritation, but in choosing to rise above it. In staying grounded, centered, and calm, even when someone is actively trying to shake you. And as we deepen this journey into the human experience, it's time to confront yet another challenging personality. Someone who wears charm as a mask, hiding something much darker underneath. After learning how to maintain your calm in the face of provocation, we now meet a different kind of challenge, one that doesn't shout or provoke, but silently drains your energy through a constant stream of helplessness. Introducing type number 7, the eternal victim. This individual seems to live in a perpetual state of crisis. No matter the hour, season, or situation, something is always going wrong. But what makes them particularly difficult to deal with isn't just the endless misfortunes they face, it's the underlying truth that they rarely take any meaningful steps to change their situation. Instead, they appear to cling to these problems. Their suffering becomes a tool, whether consciously or not, to draw people in, to keep them close, and to feed off the sympathy and attention their woes generate. At first, your support may feel noble. You feel needed. You're the one they turn to, and your presence seems to matter. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. No matter how much advice you give, how much time you invest, or how often you try to help, nothing changes, and eventually you begin to feel trapped in a one-sided relationship. Their needs overshadow yours. Your concerns are brushed aside. Your emotional reserves slowly begin to run dry. This is where Stoic wisdom offers a lifeline. Epictetus taught us to focus on what lies within our control and let go of what doesn't. And when dealing with the eternal victim, this principle becomes essential. You can offer compassion, you can listen, you can even gently guide, but you cannot fix someone who refuses to take ownership of their life. Stoicism teaches us the balance between empathy and detachment. You can care without carrying. You can understand their pain without assuming responsibility for solving it. That distinction is vital, and just as important, you must set boundaries. If their perpetual chaos begins to disturb your peace or take up too much space in your mental and emotional world, it's time to reflect on how much you can genuinely give. True compassion isn't about losing yourself in someone else's suffering. It's about encouraging them to rise from it. Encourage responsibility. Gently challenge the narrative. Support them, yes, but not at the cost of your own stability. As the Stoics believed, your inner peace is sacred. Maintaining equanimity in the midst of another's turmoil isn't easy, but it's a practice, and it's one that honors both your well-being and the possibility of real growth in the relationship. And now, as we near the final type of individual who tests our emotional strength, we turn to someone even more unpredictable. Those whose instability turns every interaction into a storm. Just as we've seen how constant victims can drain our emotional reserves, there is another type of person whose presence doesn't just exhaust, but betrays. Someone who looks you in the eye with a smile while holding a dagger behind their back. Let's examine type number 8. The two-faced individual. At first glance, this person appears warm, friendly, and even trustworthy. In your presence, they're all praise and positivity. You may even feel like you've found a true ally, someone who sees and appreciates you. But the moment you walk away, their true nature emerges. Behind closed doors, they engage in gossip, slander, and subtle sabotage. It's a deeply unsettling experience to realize that someone who once made you feel like a confidant is the very same person undermining your name when you're not around. One day they make you feel safe. The next, you hear echoes of betrayal you never saw coming. This duplicity creates more than just personal pain. It poisons entire environments. Whether in the workplace, among friends, or within a family, the two-faced individual leaves behind a trail of broken trust, whispered rumors, and simmering conflict. Their motives often trace back to self-interest, a hunger for influence, a craving for control, or simply a twisted enjoyment in stirring chaos. So how do we protect ourselves from such hidden daggers? Stoic philosophy offers a steady compass. The Stoics taught that while we cannot prevent others from acting dishonorably, we can always choose how we respond. In the words of Seneca, associate with those who will make you better. Be alone rather than in bad company. When faced with betrayal, the first step is not retaliation, but reflection. It's natural to feel hurt, disappointed, even angry, but Stoicism reminds us that reacting with rage or descending into gossip ourselves only brings us down to the same level of dishonesty we despise. Instead, we respond with dignity and distance. Once a person's true face is revealed, reduce your emotional investment. Limit the space they occupy in your thoughts and your life. Protect your peace by refusing to re-engage in the cycle of pretense and hurt. And more importantly, seek out authenticity. Build your circle around those who are consistent, who speak of you with the same respect, whether you're standing beside them or not. Genuine relationships are based on mutual virtue, not mutual benefit. Because to live a Stoic's life is to value integrity over popularity, and to guard our peace even in the face of betrayal. And as we move toward the final part of this journey, there's one last type of individual we must confront. Someone whose unpredictability can shake even the strongest emotional foundation. After learning how to guard ourselves against the betrayal of the two-faced individual, we now face a far more draining presence, one that doesn't just harm through words or whispers, but through a constant cloud of emotional turmoil. Let's talk about type number 9. The toxic individual. This person is not defined by just one harmful trait, but by a volatile mix of negativity. They may manipulate, complain endlessly, display envy, or lie outright. But what truly sets them apart is the atmosphere they create, a heavy, chaotic energy that follows them like a storm cloud, darkening even the brightest moments. Being around a toxic individual often feels like walking on eggshells. You never quite know what will trigger them next. One day, they undermine your confidence with veiled criticism. The next, they turn your achievements into a source of jealousy or twist your words to suit their narrative. Over time, their presence begins to affect more than just your mood. It clouds your judgment, weakens your confidence, and begins to shift how you interact with others. You become guarded, cautious, always bracing for the next emotional ambush. And slowly, without realizing it, you may start to question your own worth. This mental and emotional erosion is what makes toxicity so dangerous. But here's where Stoic philosophy offers vital clarity and strength. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That simple truth changes everything, because it redirects our focus inward, away from trying to fix or understand the toxic person, and back to where our real power lives, our own response. You cannot control their actions, but you can control whether or not you absorb them. The first step: boundaries, strong ones, clear ones. Decide what kind of behavior you will no longer tolerate, and make that known, not through confrontation, but through consistent action. Limit your exposure. Refuse to engage in their emotional games. Protect your peace as if it were a sacred space, because it is. And most importantly, remember this: walking away is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is an act of courage and self-respect, because living by Stoic principles doesn't mean enduring endless hardship. It means mastering your inner world even when the outer world feels chaotic. And now, as we approach the final reflection of this journey, it's time to bring all these lessons together, to understand what it truly means, to walk through life with discernment, resilience, and peace. Let's wrap it up. As we've seen, setting firm boundaries with toxic individuals is not just a protective act. It's an essential part of maintaining your emotional stability and personal growth. But sometimes, despite your best efforts to reason, communicate, or create space for change, the toxic behavior doesn't stop. And when that happens, you may have to make one of the hardest choices of all: to step away entirely, even if that person is someone close, like a longtime friend or family member. While it may feel painful, even guilt-inducing, remember this: your peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, people who respect your boundaries, cheer on your progress, and stand by you with sincerity and calm. These are the relationships that nourish your soul and reinforce your resilience. They don't pull you into chaos. They help you rise above it, because in the end, the goal isn't just to avoid negativity. It's to live a life that reflects your values, a life rooted in clarity, purpose, and genuine joy. You have both the strength and the right to choose who walks beside you. You have the power to design a life that supports your well-being, not one that constantly tests it. So protect your peace, guard your energy, and never forget, your mind is your most sacred space. Thank you for walking this journey of awareness and inner strength with me today. I hope these reflections have not only opened your eyes, but empowered your spirit to see more clearly, to choose more wisely, and to live more intentionally. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to continue learning. There's more insight waiting for you just ahead. And until we meet again, stay grounded, stay wise, and remember, true strength is found not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself.